Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Today's video is going to be another match reaction, this time to Leeds United winning 4-0 away at Burnley.
Rafinha, first time ball to Bamford. Bamford in the penalty area on the left foot. Oh, what a finish from Patrick Bamford!
So, two things from the lineup. Rafinha's back, Calvin's back, Koch drops to the bench. Could argue it's harsh because of how well he played in that Spurs game. But there is no guarantee that he will play as well again the next game. So Calvin's really, if you take emotion out of it, Calvin's the one that he should really have been starting this game. I'd say that Calvin's actually a little bit more physical than Koch in there, so he can take a few knocks and a few bumps and be all right in there really. So I think that was an okay decision for Bielsa to have made. First 10 minutes of this game was all Burnley, really. Surprisingly, they sort of came out of the blocks quick, pinned us in our own half, in our own box, really, and we couldn't really play out. We couldn't get anything together. They seemed to be cutting off all of our passing lines. Every time that we tried to play a pass between two players, there was always one close enough to step across and intercept. So that started to be a little bit frustrating at the start of the game, and you sort of started to think, well, maybe they've got a sort of game plan that's going to work against us, but after the first 10 minutes, where in the 9th minute we did have that chance where Bamford slid in to make a tackle in the box, got the ball, Tarkowski carried on sort of going, and Bamford had a shot that Peacock Farrell, obviously, who used to play for Leeds, saved wide. That was a chance of sorts. I wouldn't say it was a gilt-edged opportunity or anything. It was just a shot on target, which was all you could really say for our first 9-10 minutes. The second 10 minutes was still a little bit. It became a little bit scrappy, to be honest. It was more. There was a lot of loose balls. There was a lot of second balls being won by the opposition and for both sides of it, and it was a case of both teams not really settling onto the ball into any sort of rhythm in that 10 minutes. In the 20th to 30th minute, we had a couple of chances. We had the one where I think Calvin Phillips whipped a ball into the box from quite deep, and Strike managed to get himself free, really, and had a sort of free header that he got, but he just sort of curled around the post and never really worried Peacock Farrell in goal. In the 33rd minute, great. In the 33rd minute, Alioski took the worst shot on goal I think possibly I've ever seen in my entire life. It sort of fell to him on the edge of the box, and I thought, oh God, he either skies this or it flies in the top corner. Neither happened this time. He scuffed it and it just went out for a throw-in. A throw-in. It was genuinely dreadful. In the 37th minute, we had a chance where Calvin Phillips volleyed a pass over the top to Jack Harrison, which was a great pass that from Calvin. He did a few of them today, and we'll talk about another one later. Jack whips it into the box. Bamford lets it run through his legs, and the Burnley defender gets a touch on it, and it just flicks up into the air into Rafinha's path. Rafinha attempts a bicycle kick. He had to get the arc of the ball right and hit it at the right point. He hit it a little bit too high, and it flew over the bar. So that one could have been spectacular, but in the end ended up a pretty weak attempt. In roughly like the 40th minute, I was thinking, right, well, this is going to be a goalless half, and this has pretty much been a non-event this first half. You know, when you're watching a game and you're almost at half time and you think, has anything really happened yet? I mean, we had a few chances, but the actual general play was just a bit slow, and it wasn't that entertaining to watch, really. But I mean, you would expect that when you play against Burnley, because I tweeted as well in the game, if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's Leeds_Lately. I tweeted, imagine having to watch Burnley every week, because they're so boring. But if it gets them to stay in the Premier League every year on the budget that they've got, then fair enough. But Dyche's tactic really is, when playing a team like Leeds, is to slow them down and break up the play and just sort of really get rid of their rhythm and stop them gaining any sort of momentum in the game. Obviously, that didn't happen in the second half, but the first half was starting to feel like it was going to be 0-0 at the end. But that's when Click decided that he wants to be vintage Click against Nottingham Forest, and he drove through the midfield, took a little touch inside, so he's roughly on the edge of the box. What's happened is that we've bypassed their midfield. Usually they'd have Westwood and Cork sitting in front of their two defenders. So you'd have your back two centre-backs, me and Tarkowski, and you'd have the two midfielders sat in front of him. So you'd have a little sort of blockade there that would stop a midfielder like Click driving through and having a shot like he did. However, this time we bypassed their midfield with a bit of good play. So Click was in behind their midfield and Tarkowski was backing off and didn't really make his decision to come out and press the ball in time to stop anything. So when Click does take a little touch inside, that's when Tarkowski knows he's going to shoot. He sort of sticks out a leg behind him. But Click cleverly uses Tarkowski as a bit of a visual block for Bailey Peacock-Farrell in their goal, and curls it round him, and it just bounces into the bottom corner. And it, like, that doesn't sound like it's a very good goal, but the actual finish was really, really good. It curled a lot to go into that bottom corner and beat Peacock-Farrell, who obviously we know is a bit dire at times, and some of the mistakes he made for us, some of the mistakes he's made for Ireland and for Burnley are a bit horrendous. A lot horrendous. But he didn't make any proper howlers today. We did score 4 very good goals. Oh, and on the 45th minute, I just thought I'd mention about when Ayling nutmegged Chris Wood, and Chris Wood grabbed him and pulled him down because he couldn't handle being nutmegged, which was nice, especially after Wood had put one in on Melier earlier on, and he'd been sort of trying to manhandle a few of the defenders, so it was nice to get a little bit of cheeky nutmeg revenge on him for that. At half time, I could not believe that Tarkowski hadn't had a yellow card yet. The way he was manhandling Bamford that whole game is something that you would have maybe seen about, 15, 20 years ago. And even then it was just starting to sort of come out of the game, and in the fact that it was allowed to happen. He was just grabbing him and even for Click's goal, he literally stepped out and tripped him up off the ball, like a purposeful trip off the ball. He should have got a retrospective yellow card for that because the referee did play an advantage. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange one because he made a lot of tackles that on their own aren't a yellow card, but after a culmination of a few should definitely be a yellow card. The ref today, Graham Scott, was... I think there's a good thing about it is that he played quite a few advantages and let the game flow and tried to keep some sort of flow to the game, which I enjoy when a referee does that, even when it's for them as well, because it's best if they're even. But then on the other side of things, he didn't give enough yellow cards really. I mean, Calvin got one fairly late on, and I think 1 or 2 more players did, but that was quite late on, and I think Ashley Westwood probably should have had a second yellow after the challenge that he made on Rafinha when he was already on a yellow card. But yeah, so that was half time. The second half started almost as the first half did, but I would say it was for a shorter period. In the first half, it was about the first 10 minutes where they were quite in control and had some good possession of the ball. In the second half, they had about 5 minutes at the start of the half where they were starting to get on the ball a little bit and break up our play and win it back. But after that, we just became really, really dominant and we played fantastically well. We started to string together a lot better passing moves. Calvin grew into the game, managed to get on the ball a lot more and play some absolute worldy passes, as we'll talk about for the third goal. In the 55th minute, there was something that was vitally important for Leeds in this game. Strike fell and tried to play the ball back to Ayling, but Vidra got there first and knocked it round one side of Ayling and ran round the other. Ayling, knowing he can't make a tackle, sort of jibbed out because otherwise he would have had a red card probably. So Vidra's running through on goal and tries to curl one round Meslier. Meslier makes himself very big, sticks out a leg and saves it wide. So that was that was probably one of the most important moments in this game for us. At 1-0 up, you make a save like that. That's one of those things that they just think, oh, we're not going to score today, are we? It was a great save, sticking out his leg. People are saying that as much as it pains me because he's a scum player. People have been comparing him to a young De Gea when he first came to the Premier League. He was making a lot of saves with his legs. If he goes on to be as good a goalkeeper as De Gea is, then, or De Gea is / was a couple of seasons ago, then I'm all for it. But it's still a bit, makes me feel a bit sick having our players compared to scummers. In the 57th minute, Bamford got taken off, and Bamford, like I mentioned, he'd been bullied around a little bit all day by Tarkowski, where Tarkowski definitely should have had a couple of yellow cards in there. There was a couple that were worthy of it, but he wasn't really getting into the game enough. He was dropping in, but maybe not as deep as Marcelo really wanted him to. So Rodrigo came on for him, and this time it was a very good decision because Rodrigo was immense today, and he showed really that what we've been missing from him, really. He showed that Spanish international flair, that ability to go around a man and score, and yeah, he was great today. We'll talk about that in a minute. 2 minutes after he came on, we had a corner whipped into the box and it fell to Alioski on the edge of the box. Alioski took a touch and he hit one low towards goal. But it was going to go wide. But Harrison flicked out a little. Do you remember in the World Cup when Harry Kane had that goal that somebody whacked at him and it hit his foot and went in? It was like that, but Harrison did it on purpose, and it was just a little deft touch. And he didn't celebrate, and the commentators were saying, well, why is he not celebrating? That's a really good goal. Even before his interview, I knew it was because he thought he was offside, because I thought he was offside until I saw the replay, because the two Burnley defenders are on the posts and they came off the posts as the ball was shot. So I thought Harrison was actually going to be offside, and so did he. But when you looked at the replay, he was actually quite far on, and his little deft touch into the bottom corner, he meant to direct it towards goal. It didn't just hit him. So that was actually a really good goal. And that's 8 assists, 8 goals in 34 games. So that's 16 goal contributions in 34 games, which is obviously one every 2 games nearly, which is, I mean, that's very good. 26-man squad for the Euros now. I'm biased as anything because I'm a Leeds fan, but if I was Southgate, I'd be taking Harrison all day long. He provides something a little bit different as well because he's a bit of an old school winger. He's out on the left-hand side and he stays out there a lot of the time, but then sometimes he does come really central. So I think actually I will do a video where I pick my 26-man England squad, so look out for that one because there'll be some more videos on the Euros in the summer, of course, because there'll be no Leeds content. Hopefully Bamford and Harrison go with Phillips. In the 65th minute, Rodriguez and Barnes came on for Wood and Vidra, because Wood and Vidra, although I said Vidra had had a chance or two, Wood not really much, but he'd sort of been quite physical with our defenders, not really getting much. But they both got taken off and swapped for Rodriguez and Barnes, who both even then didn't really create much. In about the 68th minute, there was an altercation where Alioski was tackled from behind by Dwight McNeil, and Alioski went down onto the floor. So Alioski's down like this. There wasn't much contact, but it was a foul because he came in from behind to try and win the ball and kicked his leg instead of the ball. So Alioski is lying on the floor. Dwight McNeil comes over to Alioski, crouches down like this and puts his hand near his head. No, he didn't touch his head, but he puts his hand near his head and he screams something at him. We don't know what that is. That's all we see for the moment. Then probably about 3 or 4 minutes later, after McNeil's been taken off, we see Graham Scott, the referee, go over to the fourth official and pull in Bielsa from one side and Dyche from the other. And they're giving him a good talking to, and we don't really know what it's about. We've got no idea. Then they all go back to the technical areas, and Graham Scott comes back onto the pitch, pulls Ayling over and pulls Alioski in. Talks to Ayling and Alioski. We don't know what's going on. And then just after that, they go back to start playing again. And we see a replay where after the challenge by McNeil, after he'd said something, Alioski was going at him. I don't know, like, obviously we know he's weird. We know he's a wind-up merchant. And then there was another shot of him going, like, just being like a kid, really. And just doing something stupid to try and wind McNeil up, because that's what he's like, and he's a bit of a shithouse. Alioski, that is. But at the end of the game, Dyche in his interview says that a complaint was made to the referee, and the referee's come over to us to log the complaint and make sure everybody's on the same page, and he's written it down in his book or whatever. But in the interview, I was expecting Dyche to say something like, "It's not in the spirit of the game. Doing faces like that is childish and immature. It's not in the spirit of the game, and it is disgraceful, really." So I was expecting him to have said something like that. But instead he just went, "Complaints been made to the referee, and I won't be saying anything else." And that was it. So unless something serious has been said, from my point of view, the cameras never picked up Alioski saying anything to anyone. So you can't, like, if it's just about him pulling funny faces, then, like, if he's getting bollocked for that, then that's ridiculous, because that's a laugh, isn't it? It's a joke. He's just trying to get in ahead of our opposition, just being a dick, basically. But we'll allow that because that's like a joke, and people will laugh about that on Twitter. But I've got a feeling it's what McNeil said to Alioski when he was on the floor to make Alioski even do that. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one and see what comes out. What comes out about it, because it did seem strange. I don't know why there's been a complaint made. I think, so you can look back at this afterwards, I think it's what McNeil said to Alioski that's made Alioski do those funny faces. Rather, I mean, if somebody's going to say something, obviously we don't know what he said, but if somebody's going to say something horrendous to somebody, you'd rather them react by doing some stupid funny faces to wind them up than get in their face and maybe like take it physical. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one, but it did seem very strange. In the 75th minute, Click came on for Roberts. Click had a good game today. He's getting better again, and I think he's just sort of got a new sort of lease for life football-wise, and hopefully keeps that form into the end of this season and next season. He'll be with Poland at the Euros, I think. So maybe if he keeps up his form, we might actually get his starting place back and be a good player for us next season, because he's not been great for us this year. So yeah, hopefully he comes good next season. 1 minute after that, Harrison is in central midfield and plays like a daisy cutter. If you don't know what that is, that's just like a hard, low-driven pass just skimming across the surface to Rodrigo. And Rodrigo's positioned himself between me and Tarkowski. Easy for you to say. And he's took a touch between them, which is like the perfect touch, because neither of them can tackle you, because otherwise it'd be a penalty and they'd be off. Rodrigo takes a perfect touch between them. Peacock Farrell comes out, and Rodrigo, oh my God, it was sexy. Cultured little chip over him. Cultured little chip. Bailey Peacock Farrell comes out and he just lifts it gently over him into the back of the net. Ooh, it was gorgeous. yeah, he flicks it in, 3-0 up. You're in dreamland. Rodrigo, 2 goals in 2 games. You're thinking, that game over, brilliant. Until 2 minutes later, when Rodrigo does it again. The ball starts in midfield for this one. Oh my God. You thought the last goal was sexy. Ball comes in midfield. I think it's Dallas. Just nods it back to Phillips. about halfway inside his own half. It bounces once and he just the contact. He just tonks it on the half volley and it just arrows through the air. Complete diag right over to the left-hand side. We all know that Harrison's got pillow feet, so he takes a perfect little touch, cultured touch, carries it down onto the ground, runs with it, passes it into Rodrigo. Rodrigo, first touch takes him round the keeper, second touch puts it in the back of the net. 4-0. Class. Rodrigo showing that he really is a Spanish international. He was absolutely class. Those two finishes are so cultured and we've shown why we paid the big bucks for him. If he can play like that next season, we're in for some exciting performances. God, that was good, yeah. 4-0. That's going to be it for this video. I am actually going to go downstairs in about half an hour, maybe an hour after I've edited this video, and go and watch the FA Cup final. So expect an FA Cup final reaction maybe tomorrow, so it doesn't interfere with sub boxes and stuff on this video. But yeah, expect an FA Cup final reaction, and we'll be back next week as well with Southampton. Tuesday, Southampton match reaction. Brain. See you then.